Hello, good morning guys. Welcome back to our online class discussion on Mathematics 9. We are now in the second module, week 2, specifically module number 2 entitled Joint and Combined Variations. So for this module, we have three objectives to achieve. First objective is to illustrate situations that involve joint and combined variations. The second objective is to translate into a variation statement any relationship between two quantities given table of values and a mathematical equation. And the third objective is to solve problems involving joint and combined variations. So to start up with our first lesson on joint variation, we have a short activity. And this activity will direct us to determine whether the relation between the quantities involved in the examples later will show a direct or inverse variation. So if you would recall, on your first module in the second quarter, all about direct and inverse variation, so kani siya ang atong example. First example, the shared cost of renting a private resort to the number of persons sharing the rent. So bisaya pa ni usually no kay summer naman gyud ron, padung na gyud summer, ting bakasyon na sad. So uso kayo ang suroy-suroy. So kung suroy maganita to sa mga resort, for sure itong mga auntie, itong mga tito, mga mama, papa, sila rin bahala sa pagbayad sa rooms nga itong abangan sa resort. So example, si mama at gidalata nganto sa resort niya. Ang resort kay nagpaabang sa ilahang rooms. 3 rooms good for botang talang mga 15,000 pesos. So, if ever, pabayaran ni mama nga to sa mga kauban, so what pila gid ang cost nga babayaran sa kada usa if 15,000 ang rent for overnight stay. So, example. So, this will be our equation. So, ang cost, C is equal to the K, something K, constant of variation, and the constant of variation is represented by the fixed amount nga bayaran sa resort for overnight stay over n. N it represents the number of persons nga ning rent. Example. So to compute for the cost, shared cost sa kada usa, so ang 15,000 mo nagrepresent sa K, which is the fixed amount of the rent sa private resort good for 3 rooms. So ang 15,000 i-divide og 5. Example, sa ning laag nga grupo sa iyong family, 5 ra mo ka buok. Na si mama, si papa, nya tulo ka anak. So, ang mabayaran tadi dapat sa kada usa for overnight stay is 3,000 pesos. Pero dili pa bayron anak-anak kay ang mobayad na ang ginikanan naman. So another example, if sa 15,000 nga rent for overnight, doon ay 8 ka buok nga ning kuyog. 8 mo ka buok. So, pila ang shares kada usa? 1,875 pesos. O, diba? If ever, napo mo ka buok, nga, pila mabayaran anak kada usa? If 15,000 gihapon ang overnight stay, so 1,500 ang mabayaran kada usa. And lastly, last example, computation. If 12 mo ka buok, so gamay ano lang mabayaran, tag 1,250 pesos ang overnight stay pagbayad sa kada usa. So nakabantay mo ang relationship between the shared cost over sa number of persons sharing the rent sa private resort. So the more the merrier. Kung the more, mas lesser ang bayranan. Kung gamay ra, kung less than 5 mo, so for sure expected nga mas dako ang bayranan sa kada usa. So, opposite no? Opposite ng iyahang reaction sa duha ka variable. Ang bayranan ug ang gidaghanon sa mobayad. So, that's a good example of inverse variation. The second one, the size of the classroom in relation to the amount of paint used to paint the classroom. So, ang gidak-on sa classroom ug ang gidaghanon sa galon sa pintal. So for sure no, kung gamay ra ang classroom, gamay ra pod ang answer, gamiton nga pintal. Kung dako ang classroom, for sure sa daghan ang pintal. So unsa man siyang klase nga variation? Kung dako, daghan. Kung gamay classroom, gamay ra sad. So more words makahulagway ta na og direct variation kay same man ang iyang reaction. Example, to determine the size of the classroom, so we have the constant of variation represented by K, which is 25 square meters. It is estimated nga ni every 25 square meters, kanang 25 square meters, katunga na siya sa classroom nga area ha. Sa usual nga classroom, ang katunga sa classroom is measured as 25 square meters. So the whole classroom is more or less 50 square meters. So ang kanang tapad nga 2, it represents the number of gallon of paint. So sa usa ka classroom di ay duha ka gallon nga paint ang magamit. Ang size nga 50 square meters, maginahanglan sa og duha ka galon nga pintal. Kay ngano man nagpasabot lang sa every 25 square meters usa ka galon. So sa 50 square meters man sa duha ka galon. So pila ka galon of paint ang magamit kung 100 square meters. Okay, this one. Upat ka galon nga pintal ang magamit kung 100 square meters. So wala pa siguro yung classroom no 100 square meters. Nagpasabot ana duha na siya ka classroom. Kaya sa usa ka classroom, as I've said, duha ka galon nga pintal ang magamit. Kung 100 square meters, good as duha na ni ka classroom. So upat ka galon nga pintal. How about kung unom ka galon pintal? Magamit ang unom ka galon nga pintal sa tulo ka classroom. Kay 150 square meters man ni. Nya sa classroom is tag 50 square meters naman. So 50, 50, 50, 150. So meaning tulo ka classroom. Magamit ana unom ka galon nga pintal. So sa 200 square meters, nandibalig kuha na ni siya, upat na ni ka classroom. Nya tag duha man ka galon sa pintal sa kada classroom. So it needs 8 gallons of paint para mapintalan ang 200 square meters nga classroom. So that is more or less upat ka classroom ni. So this is represented by the equation S is equals to KP. S stands for the size of the classroom. K stands for the constant of variation, which is ang atong constant of variation is ang minimum size sa classroom is 25 square meters. Ang gibasihan sa 25 square meters is ang kanang room sa condo unit, that is exactly 25 square meters man. So ang duha ka condo unit nga room is equivalent to 1 classroom na. So S is equals to K times P. P stands for the paint amount of paint used. So pila ka galon. So this is a good example of a direct variation. Next, third example, the time spent in walking in relation to the rate at which a person walks. So pila ka oras ang malakaw in relation sa gipaspason sa paglakaw sa usa ka tawo. Okay, so we have there the equation T is equals to K over R. So ang pag-determine sa time is equal to the rate, which is equal to the K. Ang K din is distance. So distance over rate. Example ta. So to compute for the time spent in relation to the rate at which a person walks. So for us to determine the time, if a person walks for about 3 kilometers, ang iyang paglakaw, ang iyang gipaspason sa paglakaw is 1 kilometer per hour. So pila day ka oras ang iyang gi-use sa paglakaw if naka-covered na siya og 3 kilometers. Nya sa usa ka oras makalakaw siya og 1 kilometro. So more or less 3 hours kay 3 divided by 1 is 3. Nya kanang kilometers over kilometers cancel ba na no? Same unit sa mabilin is ang unit nga hour. Second, if ang tao nakalakaw siya og 5 kilometers nya same gihapon sa usa ka oras makalakaw siya og 1 kilometro. So sa iyang paglakaw og 5 ka kilometro sa pila na ka oras? 5 ka oras. So this is an example of inverse variation. Okay? Okay, next. What's in? Determine whether the relation between the quantities involved is direct or inverse variation. The fourth and the fifth example. For example, the amount of money raised in a concert to the number of tickets sold. Okay. Pila ang nahalin, sa Bisaya pa ni pila nahalin sa concert in relation sa number of tickets nga sold. So ma-determine na kung pila kabuk ang tickets nga na baligya. So we have the equation. M stands for the money, amount of money is equal to K times T. T stands for the number of tickets sold. So with this equation, ang kita represented by M is ma-determine siya sa pila ka tickets ang nabaligya o ang kanang K nagrepresent siya kung pila ang value sa usa ka ticket. Kaya dili mo determine no kung pila ang kita unless kung naay fixed amount sa ticket times sa pila ka book ticket na. So we have here the given example. To compute for the amount of money raised in the concert is equal to 120. Ang 120 nagrepresent sa value sa K. So, kanang 120, mao na siya ang fixed amount sa ticket. So, tapilang ticket? Tag 120, tag 120 ang ticket. Napila ka buok ang nipalit sa ticket? 200. Example ta lang. T is represented by 200. So, if there are 200 person bought the 120 peso ticket, so pila day ang kita sa concert anang time 24,000 pesos. I-multiply ang 120 times sa 200 kabuk tao. Another same gapon, tag 120 ang ticket nya times 300 kabuk tao, so 36,000 pesos ang kita anang adlaw. Itag 120 ka ticket times 400 kabuk tao, 48,000. If tag 120, kung more than panap times 500 kabuk tao, ay multiply ra 120 times 700, so mo na siya yung kita anang oras sa anang adlaw. So this is a good example of direct variation. Last example, the area of the square and the measurement of its sides. Kaya ba ang sa formula, area of the square is equal to the square of its side, no? A is equals to S square. So this one, the equation is A equals KS square. So unsa man ang K? Constant of variation. So ang atong constant of variation din is 1. Kay dili 1 ra gid siya. So if square is a quadrilateral that has 4 equal sides, so therefore if the given side of the square is 3 centimeters, so therefore ang tulo ka remaining side would also give us 3 centimeters. So if 3 centimeters, pila man ang area na niya? 9 square centimeters. If ang one side of the square is 4 centimeters, so pila ang area? The square of 4 centimeters, 16 square centimeters. If 5, 25 square centimeters. So that is exactly direct square variation. Dili siya direct variation kaya na may square. So this is an example of direct square variation. Kaya gi-square ang second quantity. So what is it? Based on the examples a while ago, more or less two quantities are involved in the solution. What would we do if there are more than 2 quantities that are given in the statement? How do we call this kind of variation? And how are they being solved? What if more than 2 pa ang variables or quantities nga gi-mention? So, unsay buhaton nato? So to illustrate, just like solving for the area of a rectangle. Okay, this one. So, rectangle has 2 sides, no? The shorter side is the width, the longer side is the length. And to get the area is length times width. So, sa rectangle, as length increases, its width also increases. Kaya di mo na mahitabo nga mataas ang length, yang width maurag hapon. Except aning kuan siguro, no? Kaning gitawag ko kanang mga ribbon. May mga ribbon nga ay rolyo mo ko ng ribbon sa rectangular gyapon na siya by nature. Panalitan ta lang ang iyahang width is 2 inches pero ang iyahang length taas kayo kay tungod rulyo man siya. But still, kay imo siyang putlon by segment, makakreate siya rectangle. So lahi na pod na sa dimension din hinga. As length increases, its width also increases. Example ta lang kung magpahimo ta og lamisa, table, the above portion of the table is a good example of a rectangle, no? Kaya ang kilid mo ng width. Nya kanang atubangan o dipikas adbang niya kaya ang length. So example kan siya table. Iyang kilid width, ang iyang atbang kay puro length. So as the length increases, its width also increases, and same as its area. Ang iyang area mo double set. So why are we talking about this example sa rectangle? When a variable varies directly or is proportional to the product of two or more variables, then we call that a joint variation. So, ang pag-compute sa area is one variable naman siya. Kay mahugban siya nga dependent variable. So dili na ma-determine ang area kung walay given nga length og width. Ya ang length og ang width are two variables already of a given situation. So when a variable varies directly or is proportional to the product of two or more variables, we call that one as joint variation. So ang area mo varies directly to the product of its length and width. In symbols, let x, y, and z denote three quantities. The statement that says x varies jointly as y and z is written as x equals k, y, z. So dili na siya directly, that is jointly. Wherein, to solve for the k or constant of variation, automatically ang kaning k mabili naman, no? So eliminate ang y ug z. So divide yz, pikas po divide yz. So therefore mo ni siya ang result. K is equal to x over yz such that k is the constant of variation. So let us try these examples. Identify the quantities in each situation. First, the area of a triangle varies jointly with its base and height. So unsa na siya? Ang mga quantities involved are area, base, and height. The second one, the volume of a right circular cylinder varies jointly as its height and the square of the radius of its circular base. So, ang variables or quantities involved are volume, height, and radius. The third one, the weight of a rectangular block of the metal varies jointly as the length, width, and its thickness. So, quantities involved are weight, the length, width, and thickness. Translate the joint variation statements below into symbols using the variables indicated in the statement. Number 1, M varies jointly as R and E. So, the answer would be M equals KRE. Second, the area of a triangle varies jointly as the base and height. Area is represented by A. Pwede po small a, capital A. Pwede nagyapon siya. A is equals to K. K is always written right after the symbol equal. Kung wala ng K, dili masad pwede. So, A is equals to K, B times H. The last example, the volume of a cylinder varies jointly as its height and the square of the radius. So, the equation would be V equals K, H for height, then square of the radius, so R square. How do we solve problems involving joint variation? Ganina, translation to no? One of the main objective to translate statements into symbols. Karon, solving word problems involving variation using the skill on translation. So first task is to translate the statement into symbols. The second one is to construct a table of values if needed only. So dili tanang solution mag-need siya og table. Third step is to substitute known values to solve for k. So depende sa variable nga given. Then lastly, solve for the other unknown values or write the equation of the variation. So depende sa gipangayo. Example 1. Find the equation of the variation where x varies jointly as y and z when the value of x is 40, y is 4, and z is 5. So ang ipangitaan ni find the equation of the variation. So first na itong ang i-solve is to write the equation of the variation. So x varies jointly, so mag-una ang x equals jointly as y and z. So k, y, z. Now dyan na always ang k. Second, i-omit na nato ang second step to construct a table of values. We will only construct a table of values if duha na ka-value sa kada quantity. But since ang value sa x, y, and z tagsaraman, so ato no need sa ibutang og table unless kung duha na ka-values ang x, duha ka-values ang y, duha ka-value ang z. So we'll skip step number 2. So proceed to step number 3. Substitute known values to solve for k wherein the equation is x equals k, y, z. So ang atong pulihan ang kaning equation wherein x is 40, y is 4, and z is 5. So money x is 40 is equals to k times y, which is 4, times z, which is 5. So to continue, 4 times 5 is 20. Usually kung magtapad ang number og variable, mauna ginagsuwat ang number before ang variable. Pero it doesn't affect magyapon kung used to kang musuwat sa variable k then before ang 20, it doesn't matter, pwede ra gyapon. So what's next? To solve for the value of k, so we will eliminate 20. I-divide na to ang 20 nga tapad sa k. So this is divide 20 divided by 20 put ang 40. Nara. So 40 divided by 20 is equals to 20k over 20. So cancel ang 20. Mahabilin ang k, which is equal to 2. Okay, 40 divided by 20 is 2. Step number 4. Solve for the other unknown values or write the equation of the variation. Since wala man siya, ang statement wala man siya nangayo o solve for x, solve for y, or solve for z, ang gipangita niya is write the equation of the variation. So to write the equation of the variation using the value of k, which is 2, we will go back to the original equation nga x equals k, y, z. So buhaton dinhi, pulihan nato ra ang value sa k, which is 2. Mori pulihan kay equation man. So wala mausab sa variables x, y, and z. Only ang k ray pulihan. So our equation will give us x equals 2y, z. Sabtan. Sabtan ra? Okay. To continue. Example number 2. V varies jointly as E, W, and P when the value of V is 18, E is 2, W is 6, and P is 5. Okay. Muna yung mga first values of V, E, W, and P. The second statement says that find the value of V. So, naikadong values of V. When the second value of E is 5, the second value of W is 12, and the second value of P is 3. So, how are we going to solve this one? Since tagduduhan ang values sa kada quantity. So, step number 1. We will write the equation of the variation. The equation would give us V equals K, E, W, P. Second step, make a table of values if needed. So, kani, maghimo na kita sa table of values, nakitagduhan naman ng values sa kada quantity. So we have the variables or quantities V, E, W, and P. So ang first, value sa V kay 18, then sa E kay 2, sa W kay 6, then ang P kay 5. Then second statement, find the value of V. So question mark ang ikadawang value sa V. When E is 5, then W is 12, then P is 3. So makita no sa table no nga naay missing ang values of v. Third step, substitute known values to solve for k. So to solve for k, we will make use of the first set of values of v, e, w, and p, which is 18, 2, 6, and 5. So since the equation is written as v equals k e w p, pulihan ang v og 18. Ang first set ha kanang nasa second line sa box, wherein v is 18, k is blank, e is 2, w is 6, and p is 5. So ang missing ani is ang value sa k. To continue, 18 is equal to 60. Di na 60 sir, 60k. So ang k nagya pa ng k, pero di na 60. 2 times 6 is 12. 12 times 5, 60. And to solve for k, obviously, kung unsay number tapad sa k, mausad na ang number nga i-divide. So okay, mo na ang number nga to i-eliminate. So divide 60, divide 60 on the right side, divide 60 pod on the left side. Next. Sir, unsa man pagkuha sa final answer ana nga dili man pareha ang 18 ug 60 i-divide. Pero ma-cancel ra ng 60. Mabilin ang k. So how are we going to arrive at a simplified answer? So mangita ta sa divisibility sa 18 ug 60. Ang pinakagamay nga number ma-divide sa 18 ug 60 is multiples of 3 no. Pero ato tas pinaka greatest common divisibility niya, which is 6. So pila ka 6 ang 18? 3. Pila ka 6 ang 60? Napulo. Okay. So our final value of k is 3/10. Ngano ganito? Sige, divide nato ang 18 og 60 by 6. Iyang divisibility is 6. So pila ka 6 sa 18? 3. Pila ka 6 sa 60? Napulo. And this is the simplified answer already. Step number 4, solve for the unknown variable v, which is v ha, ang kadahong value sa v, by substituting the value of k and the other values of e, w, and p, wherein the equation is v is equals to k, e, w, p, wherein ang gipangita nato sir is ang kadahong v. V is equal to na may value ang k gikan sa solution sa step 3, which is 3/10. So 3/10 times ikadahong value sa e, 5 times 12 times 3. So dili bigid masaag no kay na may table of values, grabe na sa masaag. Next step, v equals 3/10. Kopyahan niyo po ng value sa k kay gi-multiply pa nato ang value sa e, w, o p. So 5 times 12 times 3. 5 times 12, 60. 60 times 3, 180. Munang v equals 3/10 times 180. Next, dakot makay kung i-multiply nimo ang 3 times 180, pero if you have calculator, pwede ra 3 times 180 divided by 10. Ang gibuhat nini, since 180 is considered as a whole number no, numerator man siyang 180. So 180 i-divide nako sa 10 nga denominator, and that is exactly 18. So nabilin 3 times 18, which is 54. So the value of v is 54. Okay? To continue, example number 3. Okay, not as a word problems. The area of a triangle varies jointly as the base and the altitude of the triangle. If the area is 80 square centimeters when its base is 10 centimeters and its altitude is 16 centimeters, find the area of the triangle when its base is 12 centimeters and the altitude is 14 centimeters. Okay, tagduha-duha ang values sa area, base, and altitude. Step number 1, write the equation of liberation. So the equation there is area A equals K times B times H. H represents altitude or the height. Then times B, base. Second step, make a table of values if needed. So kani kay tagduha man ang values sa area, base, ug altitude, so the table will give us this one. area base times height or altitude. So the first given sa area is 80, the first given sa base is 10, ang altitude is 16. Then second statement, find the area of the triangle. Sa area is missing, ang second area is missing. Well, the base is 12, ang ikaduhang value sa base. Ang ikaduhang value sa altitude kay 14. Third step, substitute known values to solve for k. So, going back to the equation, a is equals to k times b times h, wherein ang atong first value sa a is 80, manapulihan og 80, equals to k times b, which is 10, times h, which is 16. Munang 10 times 16. So 10 times 16 is 160. Nya k. So obviously, 160k divided by 160 equal to 80 over 160. So cancel ang 2 ka 160, nabilin ang k. Wherein, para ganina, to reduce the fraction 80 over 160, ang divisibility niya is 80. So pila ka 80 sa 80? 1. Pila ka 80 sa 160? 2. So the answer is 1/2. The value of k is 1/2. We will use the value of k to solve for the value of the second value of a, which is the area. So solve for the unknown variable, which is a, the area, by substituting the value of k and the other values of b and h. Equation, a is equals to kbh. So missing man ang ikaduhang a. So a equals, k is, balik ta sa step number 3, 1/2. Muna na 1/2. Ang ikaduhang value sa b, 12. Ikaduhang value sa h, 14. Muna ang a is equal to 1/2 times 12 times 14. A is equal to 1/2 times 168. Din gikan sir ang 168. Okay. Gikan siya sa 12 times 14. Muna 168. Yeah, times 1/2. So pili ka tunga sa 168. That is exactly 84. So ang ikaduhang area is 84 square centimeters. When the base is 12 centimeters and the altitude or the height is 14 centimeters. Gets? Nasabtan ra, wala ra maglibog. Okay. Now it's your turn to answer this activity. On what's more on page 6, activity 1.1. The instruction is write the equation or write an equation for the following statements. Number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So all of them, you might translate into symbols, just like what you have seen on the examples nasa module. The second activity you will answer is activity 1.2 on page 7. Write an equation for the following statements. Then solve for the missing variables or quantities. Answer only 1 and number 2. So number 1, answer A and B. So number 2, find Z and the value of K. Okay, just follow the flow of answering the examples. Okay, to continue our lesson 2 on combined variation. So we're done with the first lesson, that is joint variation. What's in? Let us try to ponder on this given scenario of work arrangement, particularly work of a carpenter, kanang mga pahinante or kanang karpentero. The given problem here is, it says, Mang Jerry signed a contract with school officials to make 20 cabinets within 15 days or less. And Mang Jerry decided to hire 4 carpenters to finish the job and calculated the number of days to finish the said project. So, na ay mga foreman. Si Mang Jerry usa ka foreman. So, ipatawag siya sa eskwelahan kay noon man si Mang Jerry nga maayong buhat o mga kabinet, mga lamisa o uban pa. Nya, ang gipatrabaho sa eskwelahan kay 20 ka kabinet nga magamit sa library. Nya, nagset ang school head og 15 days kung mahimo mahuman ang kabinet, ang 20 ka kabinet kuno sa sud sa 15 ka adlaw, so 3 ka semana more or less. Okay, usually ang working days is from Monday to Friday raman siya, so mahug siya 3 ka semana. Pero kung mahimo, maximum 15 days. So karon si Mang Jerry nangita siya mga trabahante kay siya may foreman sa mangita siya mo trabaho. Primero ni decide siya nga mangita siya upat ka pahinante karpentero to finish the job and calculated the number of days to finish the said project. Ug mo ni ang calculation. So na siya upat ka workers, worker A, worker B, worker C, and worker D. Niya since pila ta mo 20 ka to kabinet ang gipatrabaho sa eskwelahan, 20 ka kabinet. So dili gina matrabaho gid og usa lang ka tawo no. So ang division of labor mo ni siya. Sa usa ka pahinante naka-assign og 5 ka kabinet iyang buhaton. So kada usa nila tag 5 ka kabinet. Pangutana, pila ka adlaw nila nga mahuman ang tag 5 ka kabinet kung silang upat magdungan og trabaho? Another. Matud pa sa estimation ni Mang Jerry nga ang kada usa nila nga motrabaho nga mohimo sa 5 ka kabinet na estimate nga ang usa ka kabinet mahuman og 2 ka adlaw. Same gyapon si worker B, worker C, worker D nga mahuman nila ang usa ka kabinet so sa 2 ka adlaw. So tag 5 man sa kabinet, so pila day ka adlaw nga magamit nila? How many days will these 4 carpenters finish the cabinets if done simultaneously? Kung kana sila nagdungan na sila og trabaho. O sa kabinet, 2 ka adlaw. So 5 ka kabinet, pila ka adlaw? 10 ka adlaw. So kanag if done simultaneously so nagdungan sila og trabaho, so inig Lunes lang upat nagtrabaho sila. Hantod sa mahuman. Pila to ka days mahuman? 10 days. Wala liman ka na 10 working days. So at least sod sila sa gikasabutan nga 15 days or less. Wherein pananglitan ang mabayaran mo na estimate po ni Mang Jerry. Iyan pong estimate daan para makaibaw siya kung pila ang iyang paninglon gikan sa school official sa eskwelahan. So iyang estimate nga ang kada karpentero will be paid 500 pesos per day. Nya ta 500 na nya pila gato? Pila ka kabinet? 20 kabinet. Sa usa ka karpentero, 5 iyang kabinet. Sa 5 ka kabinet pila ka adlaw ni mahuman? Mahuman niya og 10 days. So if 500 per day kada carpenter niya times 10 days, so ang usa ka karpentero modawat og 5,000 pesos sud sa napo ka adlaw. Usa ra na ka karpentero, upat mo sa karpentero, so 5 times 4 is 20,000 pesos. So mo na yung estimated nga contract para mabayaran. So mo na yung estimated no 20,000 pesos ang iyang bayaran sa upat ka karpentero nga himuon ang 20 ka kabinet sud sa 10 ka adlaw. But then naay plan B si Mang Jerry kay nana man to nga humanon ko ni kuan B kung humanon ko ni less than 10 days pag yun. Kay supposed be kani siya nga kaning setup is good for 10 days. Same ang gidaghanon sa kabinet nga himuon. Pero pangutana sa iyang plan B unsa kay iyang plano? Okay, mo niyang plano sa second. Challenge. In what way could Mang Jerry pero ikaw kung dili pa pastoran sa Mang Jerry, unsa imong plano? Kung si Mang Jerry na iyang plan is mapahuman niya ang 20 ka cabinet sud sa 10 ka adlaw with 4 workers. In what way could Mang Jerry's group finish the project in less than 10 days so that they could get another project to work on? O diba? The shorter the days, dako pang chance nga makakuha pa siya laing project, dili la kay kanang eskwelahanan na pa siya laing kontrata nga iya atiman, di ba? Mangorta biya jud. So sa plan A, dunay upat ka trabahante ABCD, worker ABCD, wherein kada worker is nakatoka siya tag 5 cabinets, tag 5 cabinet kada worker. So para mas mapadali ang pagtrabaho nga dili mapag napulo kadlaw, so for sure manginahanan siya og lain na pud nga trabahante. Ang mga trabahante nga si letter E, worker F, worker G o si worker H. So nanay pares ang iyang upat ka trabahante, primerong upat sa tagduha na. So expected nga let's say kung tagduha na silang mo trabaho sir sa tag 5 ka kabinet, dali na kinamahuman kay duha ba sa tinabangay obviously. So nabag-o na mo na siya ang plan B. Kung duha ka buok tao ang mo trabaho sa 5 ka kabinet, so for sure dili na tumaptan og duha ka adlaw ang pagtiwas sa kabinet. So kung duha na ka buok ang trabahante nga mo trabaho sa 5 ka kabinet, dili na maabdan og 5 ka adlaw, but instead ang usa ka kabinet mahuman la sa usa ka adlaw. So kada pares mahuman nila ang usa ka kabinet sa usa ka adlaw. So usa ka kabinet usa ka adlaw, so therefore dili na matog 10 days no, 5 days na lang siya. Okay, so how many days will these 8 carpenters finish the 20 cabinets if done together? It's 5 days. Question, kay tagduha naman jud ang mo trabaho sa tag 5 ka cabinet, so for sure marag giusab pud ang plano ni Mang Jerry nga dili na niya pahatagan og tag 500 pesos per day, iyang gikuha tag og 100 kada usa. Ang iyang minimum is 500 no, pero since duha man sa mo trabaho, okay bota na kas Mang Jerry, pabayaran niya og 400 pesos per day ang kada karpentero. Kay mahuman naman within 5 days no, so each carpenter is paid 400 pesos per day times 5 days is 2,000 pesos kada carpenter. Na pila man ka karpentero iyang bayaran? 8 ka karpentero sod sa 5 ka adlaw. So 2,000 pesos times 8 is 16,000 pesos. O diba? Nahuman ra ang trabaho sod sa 5 ka adlaw, dili na tag 10 ka adlaw. Then at the same time naka-save siya, instead of 20,000 na iyahang mabayad sa upat ka trabahante, karon 16,000 na lang. Naka-save siya 4,000, unya wala pa jud nakatrabahante. Unya mas namubo ang kitason sa adlaw nga pagtrabaho, instead of 10 days mahuman ra nila og 5 days. O diba? So the more the merrier. So the more people will work on a certain project, the lesser the number of days ang mas spend sa pagtrabaho, and the lesser posible nga mas lesser pod ang wage or salary na mabayaran nimo sa mga trabahante. So nanang taktika. So what is it? So why are we talking about this case as our example for our next lesson on combined variation? What does it have to do with the next lesson? What part of the example that we can link to our next lesson in combined variation? So what do you mean by combined variation? A variation is called a combined variation if one quantity varies directly or jointly as the other quantities and inversely as the other quantities. So sagol kay combined, from the word combined, na ay direct variation, na ay inverse variation. Just like the example we have previously taken, the carpenter's work. It can be noted that the number of carpenters varies directly as to the number of cabinets to finish. So, direct variation. So, sa setup ni Mang Jerry, nga ang constant of variation dito is ang 20 ka cabinet. Wala man mausab ka. Ang project nila is to finish making 20 cabinets. Muna constant of variation. So, ang 20 cabinets para matrabaho siya, gibahin niya ang 20 ka cabinet sa tag 5 ka cabinet sa usa ka karpentero. O dira, ang usa ka carpenter trabaho niya ang 5 tables within 10 days. Mo ang first plan. The number of carpenters varies directly as to the number of cabinets to finish. Namo siya ratio. And inversely, di ba inversely, as the time, so, bali, as the time or days to finish the 20 cabinets. So, second plan niya, kung duha na karpentero ang motrabaho sa lima ka tables, sorry ha, cabinet ni siya. Constant operation ang gadaghanon sa cabinets kada karpentero. So, kung duha ka karpentero motrabaho sa lima ka table, upat man ka grupo, di ba? So, ang one group rin siya. Mahumaran niya og 5 days. So, the more carpenters, the lesser the number of days ang ma-spend. Magagamay ang karpentero, magataas ang number of days nga mahuman ang pagtrabaho. So, ana. Muna ipasabot sa combined variation. Translate the combined variation statements below into symbols using the variables indicated in the statement. First there, you have there P varies directly as X and inversely as Y. Equation P equals Kx and inversely as Y. Ay, wrong siya. This should be P equals Kx over Y siya. This should be, ito i-correct ha. Okay. Kx over Y. Okay, that should be P equals Kx over Y. The second example, S varies jointly as M and N and inversely as B. So S varies jointly as M and N. Tapat ang M ug N, tapat siya sa K, and inversely as B, ang B nasa ubos. The third one, the electrical resistance R of a wire varies directly as its length and inversely as the square of its diameter. Electrical resistance R is equal to KL, varies directly as the length and inversely as the square of its diameter, D square. Na. Basta na ang word nga inversely, automatic na siya ang next nga quantity na sa denominator. More to mainland. Okay, how to solve word problems involving combined variation? So we have same steps, no? Translate, construct a table, substitute known values to solve for K, then solve for other unknown values or write the equation of the variation. Example 1. If 5 carpenters can finish 20 tables in 2 days, how many carpenters are needed to make 50 tables in 10 days and in 5 days? Okay. First step, write the equation of the variation. Carpenters C is equal to K times T. Kung saan ng T? The number of tables. 5 carpenters can finish 20 tables in 2 days. So, ang mga variables or quantities involved, ang carpenters, ang number of tables, and the number of days to finish. So, C stands for carpenters is equals to K, then times T, number of tables, over the number of days. How many carpenters are needed to make 50 tables in 10 days? Or how many carpenters are there to make 50 tables in 5 days? Second step, make a table of values if needed. Okay, para maklarify na to ang mga quantities involved. We have there the number of carpenters. First set, there are 5 carpenters to finish the 20 tables within 2 days. The second one, question, how many carpenters, mga X na siya, are needed to make 50 tables, 50 kalamisa, in 10 days? Second question, how many carpenters, X gapon ng C, needed to make 50 tables gihapon within 5 days? So, tulo ka value ang C, T, ug D. Third step, substitute known values to solve for K. Going back to the equation, C equals KTD. Where in C, our first set values of C T and D are 5, 20, and 2. So ipuli. C is 5 equals K is missing, T is 20, then D is 2. Kaning 5, 20, ug 2. Puli na siya. Next step. 5 equals 10K. Ganun 10K na sir kahit ako ang reduce daan 20 divided by 2. Ma-divide man ang 20 ug 2. So 10K. Nga numerator siya, di po di may boss denominator. So ang 10 tapad gid sa K. Next step. So divide ang 10K og 10. Ang 5 i-divide og 10, di ba? So to solve for K, mo na siya. What is 5 over 10? Reduce to 1/2. So to continue, step number 4. To solve for the number of carpenters needed to finish 50 tables in 10 days, where K is 1/2. By this equation, C equals K times T over D. Wherein, missing no, ang gidaghanon sa carpenters, C equals, ang K na to, ganina sa pag-solve sa step number 3, ang K is 1/2. Then, ang value sa T, number of tables, 50. Over the number of days, 10 days. So, C equals 25. Di na 25. What is 1/2 of 50? Katunga sa 50? 25. Over denominator 10. So, we will reduce. We're looking for the number of carpenters. So, 25 over 10. Pila may divisibility niya? Tag 5. So, pila ka 5 sa 25? 5. Pila ka 5 sa 10? 2. So, what is 5 over 2? Or in decimal, that is 2.5. Yeah. Wala may tao nga 2.5, no? So, ato i-round off more or less. Since we are looking for the number of carpenters to work, wala may duhag tunga nga tao. So, kung imo siya i-round off ang 2.5, mahimo siyang 3. We will round off 5 halves or 2.5 carpenters as 3 carpenters. So, meaning, nanginahanglan og 3 ka karpentero para matrabaho ang 50 ka lamisa sud sa napulo ka adlaw. So, depende sa pagbahin na nila, no? Second question for numbers, step 4. This is B. To solve for the number of carpenters needed to finish 50 tables gyapon in 5 days, where K is 1/2. Same equation, C equals K T over D. C is equal to K is 1/2 times 50 tables over 5 days. So 1/2 of 50 is 25 over 5. So C is 5 carpenters. So ganina in 10 days magnahanlan og 3 ka karpentero nga mahuman ang 50 ka lamisa. Kani para mahuman ang 50 ka lamisa sud sa 5 ka adlaw, need siya og 5 ka karpentero. So therefore, atong pagsabot ani, the longer the days, mas gamay ra ang karpentero ang gikinahanglan. Kung taas kayo ang timetable, pwede ra gamay ra ang trabahante. Pero kung mubo na gani ang timetable, meaning pa humanon ang usa ka proyekto so lang sa pila ng kaadlaw, manginahanglan jud ka og daghang trabahante para mahuman na yun ang trabaho. Okay? Sample number 2. If z varies directly as the square of x and inversely as y, when z is 4, x is 2, and y is 3, what is the constant of variation? So, equation. Z varies directly as the square of x. So, k, square of x, x square. And inversely, so over y. Inversely as y. When the value of z is 4. Second step, make a table of values. Marag, no need ta magbutang og table of values, no? Kaya marag, tagsa raman ang values sa z, x, and y. So, to solve for k, substitute known values to solve for k to the equation z equals k x squared over y, wherein z is 4, kani sa given, z is 4 equal to k times x squared, x is 2, that is a given, x is 2, so 2 squared over y, which is 3. So to rewrite the equation, 4 equals 4, meaning 4 sir, 4k K, isuwat ang K. 2 square is 4. Nya tapad ang K over 3. So sa buhaton nahalagid na ka encircle lagi sir kay kana nagpasabot siya nga gi-cross multiply. Kay ang 3 is denominator, ang atbang sa equal nga sign is 4 and 4 is considered as numerator. So if ni cross multiply 4 times 3, that is exactly 12 equals 4k. I-copy ra ang 4k. Igor to gi-multiply ang 4 ug 3 para mawagtang ang fraction nga part. So 12, if 12 is equals to 4k, how do you solve for k? Okay, divide of 4. 4k divided by 4 is equals to 12 divided by 4. So 12 divided by 4, 3. So ang value sa k kay 3. Okay, third example. A varies directly as B and inversely as C. When B is 4, C is 10, and A is 20. Find A when B is 15 and C is 25. So, duha ka value ang A, B, and C. Step 1, write the equation of the variation. A varies directly, so A equals, varies directly as B, so KB, and inversely as C, over C. Then, make a table if of values if needed. So, since nagduha-duha man ang values sa A, B, and C, so, ito is what? A, ang first set values sa A, B, and C kay if A is 20, B is 4, C is 10. Then second values, second set of A, B, and C, missing ang A, find A man. So A is question mark, B is 15, C is 25. Third step, substitute known values to solve for K. To the formula A equals, or to the equation A equals K B over C, wherein A is 20, kaning primerong set, primerong ay kaduhang column. A is 20, then B is 4, and C is 10. Next. Okay, cross multiply gapon sir. So 20 times 10 is 200 equals 4k. Interchange lang ang k ug 4k. Then to solve for k, obviously divide of 4. 4k divided by 4 is equal to 200 divided by 4. So what is 200 divided by 4? 50. Step number 4. To solve for the second value of A, wherein B is 15, C is 25. To solve for A when B is 15 and C is 25, go back to the equation. A equals KB over C. Next, A is equal to, ipakita man second value sa A, so A is missing, equal to, saan yung 50? Gikan mo ng value sa K, gikan sa step number 3, K is 50, mo ng 50 times B which is 15, KB man diba? So 50 times 15 over C which is 25. A is equal to 50 times 15 is 750 over 25. So A is equal to 30. Why? 750 divided by 25 is 30. So this is the last part of module number 2. What's more, on page 12, you will answer activity 1.3 items 1 to 5. Marag translation na ni siya into mathematical symbols. Activity 1.4 items 1 and 2 only. So word problems involving combined variation. Show the solution, complete solution ha, same sa example. Then lastly, post test 1 to 10 items, letters only, capital letters. Okay, thank you. Thank you once again for watching this video lesson. Hope it helps you understand well. See you on the next module number. Thank you.